I have to click on my screen here. So we're opening the meeting, and I need to read a disclosure pursuant to Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. There's a lot of twos in there. An act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. This meeting of the Energy Committee for the Town of Bridgewater will be fully remote and accessible to the public through remote participation. To the greatest extent possible, there will be no in-person attendance, and if you wish to tune in, you can do so by Zoom and the link. I see that there's just the three of us plus our excellent coordinator and our excellent town manager. So, seeing no public, we will not have public comment at this point. New business, the Energy Committee goals. I'll just say quickly, Michael and I had a meeting before he went on his vacation, and we talked a little bit about it, but I'd rather you all hear from him. And I'll just fact check him and make sure he's still consistent.
Probably. I don't remember anything pre-vacation. So first of all, obviously thanks to Carlton and Tom and Kristen. It's been a long time since we've had an energy committee, and I know you've met one or two or a few times without me, which is normal because I don't go to most meetings that happen. But I do want to really thank you for joining the committee, because I think there's a lot of really good stuff that's going to happen and will happen that I think you're going to end up really driving the boat on, so to speak. So I did. Carlton and I did talk, as he mentioned, and one of the things I said I would do is forward my thoughts. I did sort of a one-page goal sheet that I'm trying to start to do for all the committees, but I couldn't find it, and I had a little computer problem, so I think it got lost somehow in my computer. But I was able to recreate it because I remembered that I had emailed some of it to a couple of folks just to go over it. But so I do have it, and I found it this afternoon. But I'll email this out and let you talk about it and sort of put it through the meat grinder and see what you think. Anyway, the admin code spells out not very well what the Energy Committee, some of that Energy Committee's sort of mission statement. And what I did is I tried to build on that. And actually, you know what? Maybe, Josh, if you let me share the screen, maybe I'll just share it so that you can actually see it instead of me.
Michael, while you're doing that, I thought maybe you were going to say the dog ate it.
Yeah, almost. I could tell you a story, which is a true story. I got a little puppy in New Orleans, and the puppy. I was in law school, and we got the puppy, so that it would bark if somebody was trying to break in. Well, long story short, the puppy never barked. But one day I had to keep her in my room, sealed off, because she was a puppy, and I didn't want her running around the house. And she found a way. I was helping to edit a book one of the professors had done. And she found a way to open up my bag, a zippered bag. She opened it up and she pulled out all of the entire manuscript and chewed it all up. And so that after I got over the shock, because this was back before, before you had a PC and you could just print another copy. So I had to run down to the word processing department and, in a panic, hoping that they could give me, actually run another copy, which they were able to. But for the rest of my life, I thought this is great because I'll be able to actually tell people that the dog really did eat my homework. So it really did happen.
Thank you. Just let me interrupt for a second. We have somebody on the phone here. Could you identify yourself, please? You're on mute.
Hi, this is Pat Neri. I cannot seem to access your Zoom link, so I had to call.
Okay, sorry about that, but welcome. We're just in the middle of the town manager is going to talk with us a bit about some additional goals that he wants the Energy Committee to address.
Thank you.
All right, so thanks, Pat. So here is, oh, no, let's see, what are you seeing? Yeah, no, you're seeing the right thing. So,
It's too small. It's too small.
is it too small?
Just go down on the lower right and bring it up.
Oh, that's
Now I
good.
can see it.
Yeah.
I can
Is
see
that
it.
better?
Thank you. That's better for me.
For
Okay.
you, yeah. We are the blind one. You should have a dog.
Thank you.
I'll put the Lions Club. I'll put your name in for one. If you
I
need
see we're gonna
a-
have, I see we're gonna
Just
have a
had
lot
White
of
Cane
fun.
Day too. Where were you? We could have used you for a poster child.
Oh, you didn't call me. Anyway, Michael,
You heard me.
All right, so the excuse me. So there's the piece, the piece out of the admin code, which, as I say, is not very helpful. But here's what I was looking at. I'm hoping that the committee's goals obviously can have a meaningful impact locally, but I think obviously, as you all know, energy issues are a particularly global concern, especially right now. But sort of, I set out 3 goals. One, to look to see how and whether Bridgewater could get to sort of a carbon neutral scenario by 2050. And I should back up and tell you that what I was looking at was sort of a long-term goal. I'm trying to get all the committees, but energy as well, to sort of set long-term goals. And then once you have that, then you can back into some short-term objectives and start to tackle those goals. So that's kind of the theory behind this. In any case, look at developing long-term net emission zero by 2050 and how that could happen, and that would serve as sort of the basis. Any report that you might do would serve as the basis for something that I can bring to the town council so that they can vote that as an energy policy, which I think is, some of the conversations I've had with Carlton over the years have sort of gotten me to the point where I think we need to have the elected officials really buy into a solid energy policy. So I think this is sort of the first. I hope this is the first step. And then sort of as a follow-up to that, and maybe a little more granular, work with other town committees that have some sort of impact on energy use and sustainability, and provide advice. I'm thinking specifically Parks and Rec is a good example. We have done some retrofitting of lighting at Legion Field, which ended up being good, but I think there's a role that the Energy Committee can really leverage in order to sort of execute some of the policy that I mentioned in bullet number 1 there. And so that's a little more some of the particulars, specifically. We've talked a little bit about solar array installations, specifically at the golf course parking lot, possibly Legion Field parking lot, the school parking lots, and any other appropriate, town-owned parcel. I know, I think there's one off of Elm Street that we've talked about a bit. And then also, as Carlton knows, we've had some on and off discussion about wind, small scale wind energy at the golf course, and I think to the extent that the Energy Committee can sort of try to facilitate that happening, I think that would be a perfect opportunity as well. And then I think, and these aren't necessarily in order because bullet 3 is to develop, an educational program for residents. I still think that maybe, I don't know if it's the majority or something less than the majority, but I think there are a lot of people in Bridgewater that really don't quite understand the energy issues generally, but also don't understand, I think when they think of energy conservation, the shades, go down and the ears close up and nobody cares. They don't want to listen to that. I think being able to package that in a different way, and so that people understand maybe a little bit more about how it hits home, to individuals, but just, more of an educational campaign. And I'm certainly happy to sort of open up, any of the town's Facebook pages, any of the our podcast series, Facebook Live series, just to sort of help educate citizens about the need for one, an energy policy, and then why energy initiatives that the town tries to push are so important. So I think that's ultimately, anything we do in regard to energy is going to require popular not popular, but it's going to require residents to at least have an understanding. And I think once you have a better understanding, you have a better opportunity for buy-in. So those were sort of the three areas that I had fleshed out. And Carlton, I can't even remember, what specifically we talked about, other than the fact that the dog ate my homework and I couldn't find it.
We basically talked about the education piece. The rest of this is great. I would ask the committee to, if they have any questions, and then I want to comment a bit. Tom or Kristen?
I have no questions so
No.
far.
Not at this point, no.
Okay, well, guess what you guys are going to get? Because on our agenda, we have several things that fit exactly in the middle of this. We'll talk a little bit about that, and I was going to ask the committee members, and myself included, to do some research. And this gives us the proper format and setting to actually do some work and get them out in some of this stuff out in the next 2 to 3 months. That said, Michael, if you want to stay on, great, because I do want to talk about, I don't know if you've heard about, I call it PHIUS, PHIUS. It's a, I have to look up the word here. It is, I had to study it. It's a Passive House Institute, United States, and it's energy code. And it's the international energy code for control. And what I wanted to say to the committee, and maybe ask somebody to do more digging. Now, I may do this myself, but what it is, it's now adopted as the Massachusetts Stretch Energy Code. Because we are a green community, we are automatically required to adhere to the stretch code that Massachusetts puts out. And I need to find out, and I'll take that monkey, to find out from Steve whether or not we are in fact practicing that zoning. It's for new builds practically, but so that's the one place that we can work, and then we can educate people, the town included. So I did look at it in detail, just a quick update. There's a PHIUS called, in Massachusetts, it's 780 CMR 13. And I think what I will do is the action here, Kristen, I will give a report back at our next meeting as to how we're doing with that.
Okay.
I'm not sure how the Green Community Annual Report addresses it, but we may need to do that in that Green Community Report. So I will take that monkey on to get more information as to how we're doing with that.
Okay.
Any comments?
I just have not a question, inquiry. I've never written or even researched anything about grants, but I would be interested in knowing if the town had somebody that writes grants or along that line of anybody in the county. I would be interested in looking in that. And I'm thinking that all this money is sitting there, and unless you do it the proper way, and there's 7 different forms that have to be put in the right time, you're not getting anything. And I wouldn't mind looking into something like that, and if I could help in one way or another, try to get that money where it could be utilized. We could use it.
Thank you, Tom. Guess what? You're assigned that.
It's great to be assigned, but
Well, what I'm going to suggest
with the lights on, I haven't got a clue where I'm going.
What I'm going to suggest, I think the Community and Economic Development Department may have a bit of a handle on that. I know that I forget his name, the town planner has been assigned to write the Green Communities Grant. What's his name again, please?
Shane.
Shane.
Shane, sorry.
He's been assigned that, so I think he may have some ideas, and I don't know if Jennifer will, but my suggestion is that you would, and I'll be happy to go with you, but you would make an appointment and talk to him specifically to talk about the kind of grants that
Sure.
Michael talked. Okay, that's a starting place.
I wouldn't mind looking. I'm not going to guarantee you anything out of this, but at least look into it and get hit on the nose for not being in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing. I don't have no problem with that.
Well, this other thing I'm going to move down the agenda because I did promise to try to keep this under an hour.
Carlton, if I was just going to say, I'll let the committee go about, and what I'll do is I'll make sure that Josh sends out that one pager to everybody, just so everybody has a copy. Unless you need me for something.
No, I think everything else here, the only thing I didn't have was, I'm not sure if it's on the agenda. Excuse me. But the only thing I had is, how do the solar credits work? I get very confused as to what we do, how that happens. So not this time, but maybe for the next meeting, I could have a primer on that.
That actually, I'll arrange that, because I don't know what it is. I have a mental block with solar credits and all of it's a lot more complex. Well, maybe it's not, but my brain thinks it's a lot more complex than I originally thought it was. But I think that's a good idea. Let's make sure everybody has a good grounding in how the solar credits work.
Yeah, because I think it goes into I thought there was some line item in the town budget about using that money, but I also know that credits can be sent to, like, the school system, for example. So that's just another piece.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've had. Well, we can talk about that. But I do think that's a good idea.
I'll leave that assignment with you.
All right, I'll
do what you need.
Make sure I do that one.
All right, yeah, it's probably going to be a month or so, but let's get this all lined up. It's part of your charge to us. Thank you. Yeah, if you need to run, thank you, and welcome home.
All right, thank you. It's good to be. Well, it's not really good to be home quite yet, but at some point it'll be good to be home. So,
see you soon.
All right, thank you all.
All right, so very quickly, yes, Kristen.
Oh, I was just saying bye. Bye.
Okay, thank you. The other agenda item here is called Soul Smart designation. That's something that potentially, Tom, you might go up to the website there. You type in Soul Smart designation. I did it this afternoon, and I got a bunch of stuff. It's kind of a designation that you're very. It has some advantages to the town. I'm not sure if it's financial, but it has some advantages to the town. It helps developers come in that want to do solar, and maybe helps them a little bit. So if I could assign that as part of your grant things, take a look at that and see what's there. And it's Soul Smart. It's on the website, on the Google.
I'll Google that.
That a lot of this is easily Googled. So I'm going to quickly go through some of these other things. Item D, a new business, is the green community opportunities. The townhouse reuse audit and energy upgrade. The town chose not to pursue that. That's not a problem, because we have found out through the Community Preservation Act, we actually, historic buildings can be upgraded to modern codes.
Good.
And Community Preservation Act pay for that.
I'll pay for that.
And pay for that. So we if we had an application, well, we have an application before us. It's ready to go. It's supposed to be on the town council's agenda next week, but that would be covered through that. So that's no problem.
Is that just town buildings, or is that just private owned buildings also?
No, this is historic preservation. So it means it's primarily focused on municipal buildings and properties, but it also can, CPA can support a number of things for preservation, restoration of historic properties, private or otherwise owned.
Okay.
So in terms of energy, that link is made in terms of communicating with committees with me for now. The Academy building, there was an energy audit. They did have that. And because maybe there were some ways to get the energy use that we noticed was ticking up down. And there was a thing called HVAC training. They chose not to go down that road. But in fact, we did have the energy audit of the building, and it's pretty good. It just needed some tweaking so that people didn't have to wear coats in the middle of the winter or in other times. So that's been achieved.
Is there more than one person that has this information on how to make adjustments, or do we have to wait for the?
Well, they have a company that they go to, and they have some controls. So it's through the IT department. It's also through the maintenance department, that kind of thing. So they have done some tweaks. Josh, you may know more about it because you live up there. But the people went from wearing coats to being reasonably comfortable. There's still some issues, but it's doing okay. So that's taken care of. So our meeting last time resulted in some good things. In terms of the golf course, I talked about the energy tracking. I found out from that the town does not track or pay for the energy use at the golf course. I see it in what's called the Municipal Energy Initiative database. I see the uses, but for anything I do, I remove it because we don't pay for it anymore. It's just FYI at this point. Town manager spoke about the wind energy project, and that's in our goals now. And I think that is out at the golf course, and I'm not going to belabor it, but it is the inventor lives in town, and he's working with the golf course management to try to install this wind energy piece.
Beautiful.
It's about 7 feet by 7 feet, bird friendly, bat friendly, can output energy in any form you want. 110, DC, AC, 220, whatever, and it harvests wind at 5 miles an hour. That's where it starts. It kicks in peaks at 12 miles an hour. So in the wintertime, that kind of wind device can generate wind at night or in the dark, that kind of thing. So it's a really positive thing, and we're looking to get that installed out there.
Is it quiet? Is there any noise factor in this thing?
You can hardly hear it.
Hardly hear it. Okay.
And it's no flickering. It looks like a solid sphere, a solid 7-foot diameter sphere, although it's got cups in it, and it spins. And when it spins, it looks like a solid object. And birds don't go towards solid objects. And it has bat deterrent. So that's that update.
7 feet.
The Climate Action Sustainability Plan. I know that the town just accepted it's a plan to deal with hazards and that kind of thing, and it's related. But I apologize to the committee. I'm not sure where we're at with that one. But I believe what the town managers ask us to look into then feeds into that piece. Same thing with the potential alternative energy installations on town property. I'm happy to work on that goal. Kristen, Kristen, I was going to assign you potentially to dig deeper into this FIAS piece, but I don't think you need to do that. But I think digging in on some alternative energy policies and goals, that kind of thing, given what I gave at the last meeting, could be something you could work on. Is that, if I might?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay,
I know. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
My bad. You're my bad. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna mention. I follow this nonprofit organization called Mass Climate Action Network, and
Okay.
they have a lot of information on like the stretch codes that are being updated, and they are trying to amend Massachusetts stretch codes to refine them more. And they even have a way for me to do, or for me to like set up a chapter down here.
Oh,
So I was gonna talk about that. And I could send you guys the link to just their page for how to form a chapter, just really quick.
that's great. That would be fantastic if you could do that. And maybe you can weave that into, again,
Yeah.
thinking about the advice for report that goes to the town manager, town council. Think in those terms as to what that might look like.
Okay.
I don't have it in my head right now, but I've written about 150 reports in my life, so we can work together.
Well, you
Okay,
can do that. I haven't written one.
Well, Tom,
Yeah.
it's time to learn.
No, this is an old dog.
So basically this item G, I'll work with you guys to do with more of that. And what I will do is take an action. I'll take an action to think about what might be a rough content for a report. You know, I have to think about this a bit more, but I'll try to just give develop a crude outline for various reports under those various goals.
hmm
Okay, and then we can work from there. We cannot discuss, but we can communicate issues and ideas, and we discuss in public. So, based on that, again, it goes right to what he asked us to do. Look at the zoning for lithium storage batteries. I know the fire department's quite concerned about that, so that could be, if we had a topic called zoning, potential zoning, okay, then we could have a report that would go to the town in terms of zoning, the council regarding that. So, and the same thing that goes with the tree cutting ordinance. Maybe we can weave that in because that's sequestration, carbon sequestration, and then I have in the past developed a potential wind energy ordinance. So that's just another piece that we can weave into a zoning, what I would call zoning recommendations. I'll not remember this, but zoning recommendations. But it's being recorded, so I can go back and learn this, and the minutes will be there too. So I guess we've got some assignments. We've got some goals, thankfully. And I noticed that Pat's here, and she came in a little bit late, but I suspect that she's interested in this energy aggregation thing that's going around. And I think this is a really hot ticket item. It's not on the agenda, but under Robert's Rules of Order, the chair only can put in what he thinks will happen. And at this committee level, we can certainly add that to the discussion. So energy aggregation is a program that's been out there for some time. Back 4 or 5 years ago, we had discussions with the Energy Committee in the town about it. And so basically, you're buying your energy from another company rather than National Grid or one of those companies, and at a discount rate. And what it means is the town would pass that we would aggregate everybody's energy into this one company. It would all come from that company to all of the electrical meters in town. If you did not want to join that, the only way you aren't in it would be opt out. So it's fairly clear. And I guess I might take the action here to dig a little bit deeper into I was going to ask Kristen to do that if she can, if you want. But just to get a little brief summary, bulletized summary about what energy aggregation does for you, a bit about how it works. If we had a little bit of a report next meeting on that, we may be able to move that forward. And the reason it's there is because the Enterprise had an article about, and it's quite a problem in the state, that West Bridgewater just got accepted into the program, and they had some, I'm not going to quote the number, but they had significant reductions in energy costs for individuals in the town.
Really?
Substantial, I should say.
Wow.
And then the article went on to say that there are 31 cities and towns in Massachusetts that went to this aggregation process, but have had huge delays, 6 months to 2 years delay in getting it in place. But it is a way to help the citizens of the town, and it's an education piece also. So I'm a little bit discombobulated in terms of organizing my thoughts on it. Now, that I'll do tomorrow. But anyway, if you can take that on, Kristen, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
And there is a question in the chat feature.
Oh.
And climate interaction, or who Josh put that in there. Thank you, Josh.
That was something Kristen shared. Right now the chat just goes directly to me.
So I have a question. I ask you this for the next week's meeting. The chat, when somebody puts something in the chat, can you print that out so you have a record of it?
Yeah, and we can make it so that you know,
Can see it.
I can make co-chairs so that they can see it as well. Whenever it gets sent. So that's not an issue. I just usually it's defaulted to send to me so people like I can't flood the
Right.
chat or anything.
Right. That's fantastic. So we've got just this other piece that, oh, that's the chapter that you mentioned. Yeah, we can weave that into everything here. So Pat, I mentioned you. Do you have any questions specifically for us?
I do, Carlton, thank you. I primarily checked in on this meeting tonight because I saw that you had listed a tree ordinance. I was very curious about some discussion on that, but not a lot was mentioned. So can you tell me what you had in mind?
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, because the tree board is before the town has agreed to form a standing committee. I think it's a tree board or tree committee.
Right.
And this would result out of them, not us, but it's a climate change issue. Tree cutting removes carbon sequestration. We've had a lot of clear cutting in town that's of concern. The planning board has asked for and received gifts from 2 developers. I think the total amongst the 2 is $27,000 towards tree replacement.
Right.
So, and then but I see also a number of other areas that people will go in and cut trees and plant grass. And maybe their trees are a safety problem. They're too close to the house, that kind of thing. So the thinking there would be, what would a tree ordinance that would manage that we not do so much large tree cutting? Because the larger the diameter of a tree, the more
Right.
carbon that they sequester. So that's basically what that topic was about. And I think we'll weave that into that zoning piece that we talked about in terms of a white paper. But hopefully that answers your question.
No, it doesn't. I know all about the tree committee, and it only deals with municipal trees. So I thought perhaps there was going to be some idea about forming an actual tree ordinance to stop clear cutting in town, but we didn't cover that tonight.
That's a question. I think, certainly we can talk more about it at this committee level. But it's also, I think, part of the discussion that should be going on with the town council when it comes back for approval. I don't know if they have to hold a hearing or not on it, but that would be something that would be worth following up on, especially from the energy perspective.
Right. Because municipal trees are important, but this clear cutting has to be controlled somehow.
Right.
So that has to be addressed some way.
I thought that the tree committee, I don't know their charge, excuse me. I don't know their charge, but I thought one of them would be that they would in fact look at this kind of thing. It wouldn't be just where do we plant it.
Strictly municipal.
Really?
I haven't heard that term, so I stand informed. But you should work with those guys a little bit as they get in place. And we can look at this as part of the ordinance and teaching.
Oh, thank you.
So we'll go forward with that.
Okay.
I'm going to leave it as, are there any other questions, comments, disputes? Otherwise, oh, Tom, there you are.
I met with Mr. Kilgore at the school. The manager of facilities, director of facilities, had a nice meeting last month with him for about 30 minutes or so. We went over
Which department?
the facilities. Remember, we were going to go down and check on the solars and what they're doing for conservation. And it really hasn't gone far, other than the new building coming under all the new regulations. The solar panels on the new high school, the high school itself,
Right.
he doesn't know if they're getting any power out of them at all because the wiring in the control box has been taken out. And he doesn't know who took it out, when they took it out. He's looking into that.
This is the new high school?
The high school, yeah, the newer high school, yeah,
Well, the regional high school.
yes.
They took the
remember-
wiring out.
When we used to go in the front door, there was a panel there. You could actually see how the
Oh.
the controls of what was happening with the solar panels on the roof, all gone. He doesn't know when to come out or who took it out, and doesn't know if the panels work at all. They're up there, but he doesn't know if they're functioning. But he'll check it out.
If you continue to follow up on that, I'm thinking that it should be something that we bring up to the school committee. Because the town doesn't manage that building itself.
Right.
It's the district.
He was
This
gonna
is-
look into it. It was just a get to know you meeting.
Okay,
He's,
so he's gonna look into it and you're
Correct.
gonna get back. Okay.
Well,
We'll
I
put
can
that
try
on
to
the
get back to him,
agenda.
but somewhere down the road, I will give him another call.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put this on the agenda that we'll have, since I had forgotten totally that we were gonna do that.
And he'd be interested in hearing more about the small windmills. If they could possibly fit on the roof of either one of the high schools or any of the schools.
Weighs
And,
570 pounds.
Well, that's, if it's structurally put in correctly, it could be held up in it. There's 3 or 4 good spots in town that those windmills can go in.
These are designed to go on rooftops.
Exactly.
The original installation and testing was going to be done on one of the university buildings.
There you go.
But because the
And we-
developer works for the university, there was some conflict, so they couldn't work it out.
We got 3 school buildings that we can put them on.
I'll take the action to inform him of there's potential interest at the school for these.
Mhm.
Okay.
If they could coordinate, if they could get a hold of Mr. Kilgore and start at their level of speaking, because, he is separate from the town. Everything he has to do has to go through the administration and through the school committee.
Yeah,
I asked them about, what they were doing for they're replacing their lighting in the schools as they
Yeah.
can afford with LED lighting. They're looking to replace the windows in the old high school and the Williams School. And they're looking at $2 to $3 million. So they're
Well-
kind of coming back to the towns for that kind of money.
well,
If not, I don't, you'll have to look for grants and stuff.
that's the first I've heard about that, but if you could be the liaison from this committee to those guys, say that we're very interested in providing some role, if possible,
Well, that's
for
what,
you or otherwise.
that's what I let them know. I would be the liaison there. And it was a nice meeting, and we got along very well, and we'll take them from there. I'll give them a call maybe next week and see if we can sit down in November sometime and see
Okay.
how far he's got.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom. I've forgotten totally about that. My apologies. Moving on, are there any other general comments or input? I look forward to the minutes, Kristen, because that's the way I'll remember what actions we took.
I took some of that, so.
And thank you again for doing that, because I know it offloads a little bit from Josh, and I'm sure he appreciates that, because he's
Very much,
he's-
thank you.
He's got a lot of actions he has to turn. So next meeting, when do you all want to meet? Do you want to try to do this every other month, something like that, so we have time to do this, or?
What are we required? Is we required quarterly or biannually, or is it up
It's
to us?
totally up. It's totally up to us. In the past, because there was limited stuff, I meant quarterly. I think because we're trying to meet these new goals and stuff, that maybe we give ourselves not November, December, but early January.
Yeah, after the holidays, maybe the 10th or the end of the first week, second week of January. Sounds good to you.
After the election, so we can start telling new elected people what to do.
There you go. That works.
Let's work. Let's look at the calendar. Josh and I will work on some dates, and we'll send it out for request.
Works for me.
All right. How about Kristen?
That sounds great.
Okay, and it works for me too. I have another big meeting coming up that I've spent about 40 hours on in the last 2 weeks. So, hearing nothing else, I have 2 choices. I can take a vote that we close the meeting, or I can declare that having no more business to discuss, the meeting's over.
Could I ask one more question, Carlton?
Absolutely.
You know, the Big Belly, we were going to try to put it in a more useful location.
Oh, right.
Has
And my
anything
wife-
been done with
No, my wife reminded me of that. The Big Belly is somewhere and
that? It's
one
over.
of the things,
Yeah,
That
and
was
it-
on me. Never went and looked for it. Sorry that I forgot all about it. I will go look for it tomorrow.
well,
it's
here's, go
It's
ahead.
at the high school track where I don't think it gets much use.
Oh, okay, so we know where it is.
And it's town property, but so maybe you can work with the facilities guy there, get a bit more. But for the next meeting, and even for now, and maybe part of this research that Kristen's doing, Big Belly Solar is a large trash compactor
Right.
that's basically solar driven, and you can get 2 or 3 times, 4 times the amount of trash into it. But we need those at a number of the parks, and we could work with the Parks and Rec on this one. We need one at like the Marathon Park. We need one at the Carver. If we had those around the town, and then we worked with the Highway Department to empty them, we could get a policy together. So that would just be another action to look into getting more big belly solar units.
Right.
If I get a hold of this guy to move this, would it be preferable to take it over to Marathon Park? I think that was the most, at this time, would be the most useful place for it. With the
I
small
think
ones
so.
going.
That's where I hear complaints. But I would work with the Parks and Recs Commission a little bit as to their advice too. You know, that's part of this working together thing that Michael talked about. Let's go before them and say, if you find that they're ready to move it or will have it moved, then we'll need to talk to the Highway Department maybe to move it, and then we'll have to
Right.
talk to Parks and
Right.
Rec as to the
Right.
best place to put it.
And it has to be maintained. It has to be emptied.
Yes,
Yeah.
it has to be maintained, as they say.
Who would maintain it? It would be Park and Rec.
Right now, the Highway Department goes around to all the municipal trash bins
Mhm.
once a week, twice a week, whatever, and they empty those bins. So it would fall a bit on them, and then they would take that out to the transfer station, I'm assuming.
All right. Thank you.
So we would have to
I'll look at
coordinate it that way.
I'll call tomorrow to Mr. Kilgore, find out about it, then I'll call Park and Rec and see who I can talk to there.
Right. Okay. And Gina Gasconi is on that, and I forget there's Tom. Maybe some people you connect with, Tom Arrighi and a couple of other people.
Oh, Tony Arrighi?
I think he's still on it. Josh, maybe you could send him the list of the Parks and Rec people.
Yeah,
That way he knows who to
okay.
talk with.
I know Gina, I know Tommy, I just haven't seen them in a long time.
Right. Okay. How's everybody doing with the meeting now?
I'll let you go.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All those, okay. All of those in favor say aye or raise your hand or otherwise. Do we have to do roll call, Josh?
Actually, yeah, I was just about to say you should do roll call.
Okay. Voice call. Okay. Go for it. And Kristen, you need to record that, you know, the vote was taken.
Mhm.
Did you want me to do the roll call?
Would you do that, please?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Carlton,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
thank you. The motion was approved, meeting adjourned.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
See you soon, guys.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.